Joining us on the show is Jason Palmer, former Democratic presidential candidate. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Allison.
Now, elections are just about 2 weeks away. Polls show Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are neck and neck. What impact do you think it'll have on voting day?
I do think it's going to be a toss-up election, 50-50, like a coin flip. It's very close. Everyone I know is knocking on doors in Pennsylvania, so Pennsylvania is definitely the state to win here. And I'm watching very closely to see how many people that are 18 to 29 years old are getting registered to vote. I think Gen Z is going to play a major role in this election, but it hasn't really been reported on yet.
Right, that is an interesting point. Let's look at North Carolina. Democrats have not won North Carolina since 2008. How can they change the results in the crucial swing state this time?
Yeah, well, two things that we're doing, my organization together is focused on getting younger, down ballot people elected to Congress. We've endorsed two people who are in their 30s who are running in the Raleigh, North Carolina area and also Western North Carolina. So there's a huge get out the vote effort going on among Democrats in North Carolina. Now, probably your viewers also know about the governor's race in North Carolina. And the Republican candidate for governor, really has just been stumbling all over himself. And I do think that's going to play a major factor in the election as well.
Hmm. And in what key issues does Kamala Harris have an edge over Donald Trump? As we've seen, and voters have said that their focus is the economy, migration, and abortion.
Yeah, definitely a woman's right to choose is a major issue where Kamala has a very strong advantage over Donald Trump. In fact, it's even difficult to know exactly what Donald Trump's position is right now, even though he put three justices on the Supreme Court, even though they overturned Roe v. Wade. He's kind of running against his own position there and muddling that issue. But Kamala speaks very strongly about women's rights, women's reproductive rights. And then there are 12 states where there are referendum on the ballot to actually enshrine that women's rights to choose. And North Carolina is one of those states.
Right. Let's go further into the policies of economy and migration. Some people have said they weren't exactly sure on Kamala Harris in terms of her policy on economy and migration. So both of these issues, what are your thoughts on this?
I think that Kamala has been trying to make headway on both of those, but if there was a poll today, Donald Trump would still rank a little bit higher on how he would handle immigration or how he would handle the economy. In truth, Kamala did prosecute a lot of the criminal gangs that were crossing the border and involved in a lot of the trafficking in California. So she does actually have a strong record from when she was an attorney general. But over the last 3.5 years, it's hard to argue that the Biden administration has had a good set of policies on immigration. The border really needs a massive reform. And, Biden and Harris tried to push something through in the Senate and the House, but it got blocked, mostly blocked because Donald Trump said he didn't want that legislation to pass. So I think generally voters kind of think immigration is very messed up right now, and they would be right about that. And that's one where it polls, slightly in Donald Trump's favor, even though the policy he's advocating, that we're going to forcibly remove 15 million undocumented immigrants. This is very un-American. It's a terrible idea, but the polls do show that a majority of Americans support that. They're so fed up with the bad immigration policies.
Right. And Jason, you have touched on it. Pennsylvania has emerged as the main battleground. How important is the state for both the candidates?
I think it's all or nothing in Pennsylvania. And you'll see over the last 2 weeks that more and more campaigning will be occurring in Pennsylvania. And there has been a lot of campaigning in Pennsylvania, but the candidates have skip-scopped over to North Carolina, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin. There are other battleground states, but in these last 2 weeks, it's really going to consolidate down to, I would bet they both spend almost their entire last week in Pennsylvania.
And both candidates have promised tax rebates. So, which way are American businesses swaying?
Well, that's a real mixed story right now. So there are some people in Silicon Valley who have come out very strongly pro-Trump on the venture capital side, which is where I work as a venture capitalist. But then 1,000 VCs put together a VCs for Kamala organization to counterweight that. So at least in the entrepreneurship community, it's very much a toss-up. Both candidates are much more pro-entrepreneurship than I think any presidential race in history. Kamala coming out with plans for $50,000 in tax deductions for entrepreneurs. She's talking about small business all the time, and she really understands small business. Ro Khanna in California is a major ally of hers, and he's been an advocate for small business. So this is a small business election more than any I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Jason, thank you very much for your time today. Thank you for being on First Post.
Absolutely. Thanks to be here.
Thank you.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election, explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.